A few days ago, I told you that Blake Lively's co-star, director, and producer in the movie It Ends With Us was planning a series of lawsuits. Well, what holiday break? His lawyer is working overtime, and the first lawsuit has just dropped. And surprisingly, it is not against Blake Lively, the woman who has accused him of awful behavior on the set of the movie and then an orchestrated smear campaign against her after the fact. Instead, he is suing the New York Times, which is just the most ridiculous thing. But his lawyer must be thrilled and convinced him it was a good idea because the lawyer wins no matter what. Ka-ching, ka-ching. All right. Now that I'm reading this, the lawsuit isn't even about the New York Times. It's an excuse to get Justin Baldoni's side of the story out there. So this makes sense. It's strategic to sue the New York Times and not Blake Lively, at least yet. And why the New York Times? Well, the Times was the publication to break the news in detail with all of the text messages and emails that were in her complaint. Her team clearly worked with the New York Times to get her side out. And now Justin Baldoni's side is working with Variety, the industry trade publication. Check this out. On June 2nd, 2023, Blake Lively began a text exchange with Justin Baldoni that blamed her assistant for not getting her an updated batch of script pages. Quote, "She didn't realize they were new," Lively wrote. "New pages can always be sent to me as well." The actress signed that with an X, the universal sign for a kiss. Lively followed up with another text shortly thereafter. "I'm just pumping breast milk in my trailer if you want to work out our lines." Baldoni responded, "Copy, eating with crew, and we'll head that way." I said in a video recently, was he into her? But now, perhaps they're making it seem like she was into him. At least, could be. This moment, the exchange that we now know the full context of, was a pivotal piece in the New York Times' reporting. They, however, just included this part of it. The Times wrote, "Baldoni repeatedly entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding." Well, his team now has a receipt for at least one occasion where she invited him into her trailer while she was breastfeeding. And that's just one of many discrepancies highlighted in this explosive lawsuit for $250 million against the New York Times. It's a defamation lawsuit, and OMG. Joining him and probably splitting costs are 9 other people, including the crisis PR expert Melissa Nathan and his publicist Jennifer Abel. They're suing the newspaper for libel and false light invasion of privacy over their December 21st article. They claim that the New York Times cherry-picked and altered communications stripped of necessary context and deliberately spliced to mislead. The 87-page complaint claims that Blake Lively engaged in her own smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. And not only that, this is good. This lawsuit, Baldoni's, claims that I knew it. Oh my God, I called it. This lawsuit claims that Blake Lively used false sexual harassment allegations to assert unilateral control over every aspect of the production. The lawsuit also mentions her husband, claiming that Ryan Reynolds berated him in a heated meeting at their Tribeca penthouse, accusing him of fat-shaming his wife, Blake Lively. Oh boy, they're also, this lawsuit's mostly about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and a little bit about the New York Times. The lawsuit also claims that Ryan Reynolds pressured his agents at WME, who also represent Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, that Ryan pressured the agency to drop him, which they did. And this lawsuit claims that Ryan Reynolds did that way before he even hired the crisis PR expert. Baldoni's lawyer says in a statement about this lawsuit that the New York Times, quote, cowered to the wants and whims of two powerful, untouchable Hollywood elites, disregarding journalistic practices and ethics once befitting of the revered publication by using doctored and manipulated texts and intentionally omitting texts which dispute their chosen PR narrative. For example, in the New York Times article, they mention an exchange between his publicist and the crisis PR expert talking about an article in the Daily Mail. Well, the New York Times article only included the following: "You really outdid yourself with this piece." And then the crisis PR expert responded, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." But the text that preceded that had the crisis PR expert explain, "Damn, this is unfair because it's also not me." Meaning she told his publicist she had nothing to do with that Daily Mail article. And the New York Times didn't include that very important piece of additional information. The lawsuit goes on to say, quote, "The Times' story relied almost entirely on Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative, lifting it nearly verbatim while disregarding an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motives." Oh, this is very telling too. This lawsuit says, quote, "Notably, Lively chose not to file a lawsuit against Baldoni or any of the plaintiffs. She just filed a complaint." The lawsuit he filed says that her not filing a lawsuit is a choice that spared her from the scrutiny of the discovery process, including answering questions under oath and producing her communications, hers. The decision was no accident. His lawsuit also reaffirms their belief that Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, did indeed plant stories to make Justin Baldoni look bad. His lawsuit also clarifies that the corn that his producing partner showed her was actually a video of his producing partner's wife giving birth. And according to his lawsuit, it was Blake Lively herself who referred to her character as sexy. She even wrote in a text exchange with him that her wardrobe needed to be much sexier. The lawsuit also claims she lied about there not being an on-set intimacy coordinator. There was, and he's got text messages from her to prove that. And that person started working before filming began. And they also claim that there was no 30 items that she complained about on set. Remember all of these allegations? They heard about that for the first time when she filed those papers. And now, thanks to this lawsuit, they're going to go through this process of discovery and everything will be made public. Wow. Thoughts? Let me know in the comments section.